Welcome back for another episode of Strive for 25. Joel Farrell here, and looking forward to sharing with you our. Welcome to another episode of the Strive for 25 podcast. This is a special episode. This one just kind of came out of nowhere, going to be honest. I met these guys recently, and we got Christian, Springer, Alex Holden, and we're sitting here live in their store that's going to have a grand opening on Saturday, Opulence STL. And what do you guys do?
We sell sneakers for a living. To put it in simple terms, the exclusive sneakers you can't find is at Foot Locker, Nike, Champs. It's all the sold out versions that people are entering for and get pissed off, throwing their phones at the wall because they can't get them, but we've got thousands of them.
Thousands. So you guys have this store that's going to be opening up, and you do a lot of business online as well, right?
Correct. Multiple platforms, probably 6 or 7 different platforms. eBay, Goat, StockX. Well, StockX is getting a little iffy. Amazon, Flight Club, etc.
Okay, so we're talking about opening a business, and two entrepreneurs that are not very old. You guys are how old? 19 years
19.
old. And so me personally, I'm talking to entrepreneurs every single day, and there's a very, very small percentage of people that are your age that are opening businesses like this. And we're talking about taking your online business and putting it into a bigger retail store. Just for the listeners out there, can you kind of dig into a little bit of when you started and how you started and why?
So I think the passion kind of really started ramping up in 8th grade for both of us. I actually didn't know Alex in 8th grade. I went to a different middle school than him, and we met freshman year, and kind of summer going into freshman year, we were meeting the people feeding into our high school, and he knew about Lululemon and I knew about Lululemon, and we realized that there was a demand, especially in the men's district of Lululemon, because it was particularly a women's brand. And we kind of developed a passion for fashion, noticed a hole in the supply, and demand was really high. And we started buying into Lululemon at like $20 and selling it for double. And kids loved it at school. We got in trouble a couple of times, pulled in the office for wheeling and dealing in high school. But I mean, it is what it is.
That's awesome.
That's really what ramped up our business and marketing and stuff, because that was all Instagram.
Okay, so that was what, 3 or 4 years ago, essentially?
Yeah, about 4 years.
4 years ago. So at that moment in time when you guys were in school, getting in trouble, selling stuff to your peers and friends, did you have it in your mind then that this would be a reality, opening into an actual? We're at St. Louis Premium Outlets. It's a major complex here in St. Louis. Was that even a vision of yours at that time?
I think it was definitely a vision, but being on it, right? How are we going to get there, right? We're dealing with kids the whole time, right? There's no structure to our business, right? It's just Venmo payments, cash at school. So I think at that time it almost was, we weren't necessarily mature enough, right? We didn't know what running a business was. We didn't know what an LLC was. We didn't know how to pay taxes. Much less we didn't even know what taxes were, right? It's like you got to give 30% of what you make away. We didn't know that. We turn 1 into 2 every day. Wake up in the morning. How can we turn 1 into 2 today?
And we were wheeling and dealing out of our basements, our garages, our living rooms and stuff like that. And we were moving numbers. We had people pulling up to each of our houses all the time. We shipped to them. I mean, we had 8,000 people genuinely following us on Instagram and getting our name out there.
So let's just say at age 17, you've been doing it for a little while. In 1 calendar year, early on, what was the kind of revenue you were generating or amount of sales you were generating?
Probably. So what we originally, when we were smaller, what we did with like the clothing aspect of it was we would just post it whenever we got it. We'd throw a post up, whatever time of day, any day of the week. And then when it got more popular and the demand was high and we were selling out, we started to do kind of a drop system. So we're like, it was more of a marketing tactic, right? Get it hyped up. Be like, okay, repost it for $5, right? Because then they're getting their viewers to see it. And that's when it kind of started to go wildfire. So we probably did, I'd say maybe 100 drops in a year, and probably did about 2,500 each drop. So
2,500 units or dollars?
$2,500.
Okay. So $2,500 a drop. How many? You said 100 drops? Okay, I can't do math that fast. What was that 25,000?
22 250.
Anybody? So let's see here. So how many zeros are we talking about here?
You got a calculator?
2,500. Oh, that's 250, right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
250. So you're
So yeah,
17 years
we were
old
moving.
and you're generating revenue of 250K in 1 year.
And at that point, I mean, we were just doubling money. So obviously we rolled our profits into further product and stuff like that. But I mean, that was like 100% profit margin right there.
So can you explain a little bit about the product? So at that point in time, you're purchasing what, where are you purchasing it from and then selling it? Explain that a little
So
bit.
so like I said earlier, Lululemon wasn't a men's thing at all. Like we were almost getting made fun of for wearing Lululemon shorts, and now I got Lulu on. A lot of guys are wearing Lulu now. And early in eighth grade, like I said, we recognized that demand and early in high school, and we started buying it up lightly worn as much as we could on all like Facebook Marketplace, Poshmark, eBay, things like that, and we'd get them into the house and we'd start taking pictures and stuff like that. So the whole goal was get a product that's cheaper than the $90 short at Lululemon in store, which we did. We sold for about 40, $50 depending on the quality, the colorway, etc. And we bought them at like 20, 25. And now when we got into the store, it was a little different. We bought a little less. We were kind of trying to move away from the Lululemon because we recognized that there was a demand in hype clothing, things like Essentials, Supreme, stuff like that.
Okay. So, I mean, we're sitting here in a store full of high-end Jordan shoes, right?
Right.
Can you explain a little bit of the journey getting into shoes like this and more about why these shoes? Why do people want these shoes?
So here brings up a good point. Between the Lululemon phase and the store we are in now, there was a huge part that kind of opened the doors for us. It was something, we really didn't expect. And that's why I always talk about, with such success, there's always a little bit of luck. And what I find for us was we had a guy that we were kind of friends with in high school. He was about 2 years older than us. He came to us and said, "Hey, I'm opening a sneaker store in the Chesterfield Mall, and I'm doing this kind of new system where it's a vendor system. So you give me X amount a month and we take X percentage, but you can put your shoes on the shelf." And so we did that for about a year and a half. And so basically just a consignment thing, right? So we did that for a while. And one of the things that we really got out of it that we didn't know was how to run a business, right? We were there after hours doing register counts. How do you put all these shoes in plastic? How do you guys price them? How do you interact with the customers when people bring in shoes? How do you offer to them, right? People sometimes get offended when you're buying their shoes. You give them a lower offer than what they're expecting. How do you deal with a frustrated customer? Learning how to run a business is just as important as finding the product for the right price, putting it for the right price. So that was a huge kind of what got us from, okay, how'd you go from the clothing to the shoe aspect? That was kind of the opportunity that we never expected to come. And we went in there with about 30, 40 shoes and came out of it with probably 600 over the year and a half course. And that's kind of how we got into our own store. Was they basically, the two owners got to the point of where they didn't need other people's shoes in there anymore. They had enough themselves, and they were like, basically, we're getting rid of we're moving out, and we're getting rid of you guys. It was all good love, no beef, but we're like, shit, man. Well, I don't want to. We need a storefront, and so that's when we took over that store and spent a year there, and now we're here about to do our grand opening tomorrow.
And with Chesterfield Mall, man, you don't get traffic for shit. So that kind of served as a warehouse, but it also helped us learn how to market correctly, what gets people in, etc. And we had huge turnouts. Black Friday, we had 60 people in line for like 3 hours at the beginning of the day. So that was huge, and that was more than we expected. I think we were talking numbers like 30 people in line, and maybe that'll be it. but we definitely learned what gets people in the door and how to manage that kind of number on a day-to-day basis. And I mean, it was a great learning lesson, and shit, we're learning stuff every day.
So for the listeners out there that, want to learn more about the different components of running this kind of business. So you have to get the inventory. You also have to sell it and market it and get the product out there. What else goes in from just the linear process of getting the product and then what happens after that?
So I'll let me say something first, then you can kind of take it away. But prior to starting a business or prior to getting into this sort of business, a lot of people compare themselves to other people, and that's the struggle that's hard to keep up with. So I mean, we started with one or two pairs each, and we moved up. We were running separate Instagram accounts, then we kind of joined each other as Opulence, and it worked out. But it all starts from square one. There's no jumping the gun. So that's something for the viewers to kind of keep in mind when it comes to starting a business. But take it away as far as getting product and stuff.
So kind of the
Well,
whole,
hold on. Can we just start at like literally ground zero? Like the first shoe you bought and sold. Like explain that real quick.
so basically for the both of us, it started as a passion. I think that's really important. It's very cliche, but you gotta like what you gotta do. That's how it started for us. We were both into sneakers, and for myself, I found my mom got an email that said Yeezy is now available at footlocker.com. Like Yeezy's, it's like $1,000. And we look, it's 220, but it's sold out. Like the email was from like 2 days ago. Me, I have no clue. They sell out in half a second, nothing to deal with it. So we ended up calling. They're like, yeah, it's an in-store raffle reservation. I was like, huh. So I identified the next drop, and I was like, okay, I got my mom, my dad, my sister, my cousins. I got everybody I could to come down and get a raffle ticket to enter. And most of the time I would end up winning 2 or 3 pairs, but I didn't think of it as a business any way at all. I actually thought of it as, okay, I buy this one for 220 and I sell the other one for 600, and I get the pair to wear for free. It didn't cost me anything. And so that was really early on before I even thought about making a business out of it. And then kind of got later the Lululemon side of things identified, what's that shoe thing up to, like how obviously it's changed a lot since then. It's more online versus in store, but that's kind of how it comes all the way back around.
And
Oh,
a
wow.
lot with transferring into like Lululemon the shoes that we sold, because we ended up selling like the little lower end shoes on our Lululemon platform. It was Shop Prep STL, and that was great. But we were selling the lower end shoes because we realized that the guys who were buying the Lululemon, they're into Ultra Boost, they're into active wear and stuff like that, not so much the streetwear flat foot J's and stuff like that. So we were buying into Ultra Boost NMDs and stuff, and people loved them. And those were lightly worn. So that's another thing. Starting at a lower price point where you don't need a crap load of capital to get up there. You just start with you stuff because you can get your hands on it for pretty inexpensive, and then you'll just see it pick up. As long as you're rolling your dough into the next project,
Scaling
that's
up.
what's gonna help you.
I think a big thing that a lot sometimes you have to take your loss, right? It's especially when you're lower on capital. Now we can afford to sit on what we call a dead inventory, whatever. Okay, if it's been sitting for 90 days, we call that dead inventory. It's worth nothing unless you sold, right? Unless you have the money in hand. So it's important that if you only have $1,000, right? You got 110 different shoes. You need to been sitting on 5 of them for 2 months. Maybe get the 80 out of it, put the 160 into something else that you learn a lesson. Okay, these don't sell in this condition, or this size is just not really a good size. It's a learning lesson. There's nothing wrong with that, and then you need to reinvest.
And adding on to that, it's like the same thing as any industry is do not get high on your own supply, especially early on, because you see a shoe that you really like and you take it home, and that's chewing into your profit margin for the week, or the capital that you have to move over into something else. So that don't get high on your own supply, plain and simple.
Does that also kind of dovetail into like people in your network? Like, hey, I know you. Can I get a deal? Can I get a discount? Can I get something for free? Does that
Yeah,
happen?
I heard a quote one day, and it's like, if your buddy's got a business, don't ask for a deal. I mean, help him out the best you can. And we don't have a problem giving our buddies deals and stuff, but I think it's true. Just, I mean, if you can't afford helping your buddy out or something, repost their stuff on the gram. Tell the people who can't afford to go in there to go in there and stuff like that. But but yeah, just help your buddies out if they got a business, and we don't have a problem doing that with our buddies starting clothing brands and stuff like that.
So the inventory that people can see behind us, right? We've got, an assortment of different shoes. Can you kind of just describe a few of these shoes and like what they cost, and what they're selling for and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'll start with a really good one actually right here. So this is called the Jordan 1 Lost and Found. And basically it is as close. They've done a couple other ones, but as close to the original Jordan 1 1985 Chicago, very first Jordan one. Someone thinks of a Jordan, this is what they think of: the red, the black Jordan 1 high top. And so this has a retail price of $170, and it's selling right now for about 500. And in this business, you can only get so many for 100. I guarantee you, we paid on maybe two of the 15 that we have. We paid that 200 after tax of the 170. The rest of them, we're not working on 100, 200% margins with these shoes, right? But it's a high dollar item, right? If you can make 40% on $500, it's a lot of money. And so if you rinse and repeat, move 10, 20 shoes a day, it's a lot of money.
So you get some of them at, from the producers, and then some you have to get on the other markets, or how does that work?
So we have other suppliers, that what a lot of people call, we have botters all over the United States, right? That have their computer robots running in the background, and they'll send us bulk list every so often, say, hey, this is what I have available. We also go to sneaker events that they host. Sometimes there's some in Chicago. I've been to one in Atlanta. They have some here in St. Louis. So it's sourcing. It's about connections. That's a whole other topic, but sometimes you're gonna have to pay the price to get a good price from the same guy on something else.
So kind of going back to the other question about the product, the sales, right? You can dig deeper in a second on just the sourcing, right? So then you have the marketing and sales part. What else is going on from running a business that you have to be aware of? What are just some of the bullet points that you have to be doing?
Go ahead and talk about how we started, just back office paperwork and stuff like that. Then I'll roll into the front office.
So when a lot of people, our friends, 19 years old, at the time we opened the store, 18, our senior year of high school, opening a store, it's a huge deal. Everybody knows it takes a lot to do that, but they're like, oh, okay, you wrap the shoes, you put the price tag on it, and it sells, you get the money, and then you got to go buy more. And there's so much more to that, right? Registering your business, the upfront cost of starting a business, creating your LLC, figuring out getting any other licenses, right? You got to get your city and county licenses. You have to pay for inspections, and what happens, if your AC goes out. It's a lot of stuff you don't expect. And starting, you're not bringing in as much revenue as when you're open, right? So like this past move that we had, it's basically taking a month off of only losing all the store sales that we're used to having X amount coming in roughly every week. And that's gone. And rather, we're paying thousands of dollars for signage and having these inspections and all that other stuff. So there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that can cost, and you kind of need to be prepared for that, or at least, start with the online thing. And then when you think you're ready to move on to, get a warehouse, whether it's a retail store, warehouse, something of that nature.
And I mean, we spend hours after close getting stuff together. Like last night we were here. I was trying to do some homework because I'm still in school, but I kind of just left that aside, and we were wrapping shoes, getting the place cleaned up for the next day. I mean, and opening at the Chesterfield location, we spent 24 hours, not straight, but 24 hours getting the 400, 500, 600 pairs that we had available in store. So there's a lot of hours that go into it on the back end, and getting stuff posted, making the pictures look good, marketing, wording's got to be correct. I'm real anal about that stuff. And it all kind of just falls into play when you put in the time.
From a partnership standpoint, you mentioned previously you started doing this on your own Instagram, and then along the way you guys partnered up. what were some of the things that you saw as a benefit in partnering up in terms of just your personalities or character traits and, all that stuff?
We complement each other so well. I do a lot of the stuff that the people see as far as marketing, pictures and stuff, and he does a lot of the back office stuff. And our personality, we keep each other accountable left and right. We were talking about dead inventory, and sometimes I'll ask him like, "Hey, dude, like I've had this for a little bit. Should we get rid of it?" Then he'll do the same with me, and just stuff like that. But we complement each other so well when it comes to just the day to day business. And it's we learn from each other. We haven't had any real arguments as far as business goes, but it's definitely a learning lesson for sure.
Being on the same page is
Oh yeah.
pretty valuable.
There's gonna be stuff, partnership and stuff. Nobody wants to talk about it. It gets awkward. It's not fun, but you got to do it because the next day you come to work and it's off your chest. It's, whatever, you're feeling better. You know, it's off the page and you move on and, you just figure it out. A lot of times you're going to have to come to a mutual agreement. I don't want this exactly. He doesn't want this, but we'll come together. And I think it's better that way because I think about half my idea is good and half his, and then we put them together and it's the best of both worlds.
Yeah, and after those awkward conversations with each other, you notice a big change in personality and the vibe that's going on in store and when you're with each other the following day or the following week. But it is, you do got to get stuff like that off your chest to keep the business going at a good rate.
So along this journey, right? I mean, you guys are in high school, a couple years back, and building a business, generating revenue. From a standpoint of help or mentorship, or who were there people along your journey that were helping you, guiding you, giving you guys advice?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give a special shout out to Chase Callahan. That's the guy when we were in high school who gave us the opportunity to kind of do the consignment piece in his store. And
he's like a brother to us.
Yeah, without him, we wouldn't be here in this situation. I mean, he taught us how to run a shoe business essentially from square one. And I can still, even though we're competitor stores, I can still call him at any time and ask him anything, and he'll tell me, whether it's legal advice, whether it's what should I price this shoe at? Do you think this is a good? I could call him and he'll give me an honest answer, not try and screw me over, even though we're competitors. And I think mentor is a huge thing, right? There's always someone better than you, and as soon as you think that there's not, that's when you're in some serious trouble. And both of us, we kind of do our own things as far as mentorship, but he's my mentor, I'm his, in different things. But we also have people we look up to. I know our dads are a huge part of this, and moms too. And then I have a few other, guys that have sold or still have very successful businesses that I like to meet with, a couple times a year, once a month or whatever, to get advice from. And even if it's not the same, if it's a completely different industry, you're going to learn something from it. I promise, if you have the conversation, you will get something out of it.
And that's the good thing about this podcast. You were talking to that 19-year-old kid who's basically a mentor for these people of all ages. And that's and networking is the biggest thing. Like you came in here and you told us about your podcast, and here we are following 2 days. So it's good in this business, and really any business, it's good to just meet new people and see what they're about. And I mean, you learn something from everybody.
Totally. And I like that you brought that up because, I literally had an idea and I was like, I'm just going to go walk in there, because I called and left a message and didn't get a call back. I was like, this grand opening is in a couple of days. I'm just going to go down there and just see if someone's there. And the reason I bring it up is because 5 years ago or 2 years ago, I wouldn't have done that. I've been having to work on my mindset, working on my goals and vision, and programming my subconscious brain to be able to reach my goals. Because I work in an industry, in the mortgage industry, that's just pure chaos, and that ADD brain where all these things are going on. Because in our industry, a lot of the work that you do in terms of building relationships, you don't see results right away. And so it's easy to just bounce around. And the people that I see, people that you guys see, that reach levels of success that people can look up and say, yeah, holy crap. Those are the people that put a goal out there, and they just don't stop till they get there. Every single day, they're putting work towards that goal. It doesn't matter if it's 1 minute or 2 minutes or whatever it is, they put a goal out there and they don't stop to get there. And I think, that's one of the things that in talking to you guys recently this week, I see that in you guys because I know there's people that probably doubted you guys along the way, right?
Yeah, Alex and we didn't really get any like haters, if you will, firsthand. But I'll go out and talk to a couple guys and they're like, yeah, dude, there was a bunch of people saying negative things about you and the business. And we hear comments like, oh, what if the business fails? Well, it's a learning lesson. You just keep moving, you keep moving. But we never got any negative comments firsthand, but secondhand for sure. We hear some stuff, and now they're coming back. They're commenting on our posts and getting all excited and stuff like that. Where originally it was the total opposite.
Yeah, and we were talking about this a couple of days ago. Mr. Beast, like 7 years of putting content out there and never getting more than 1,000 views. People hating on him, like, why are you doing it? Why are you spending time? Like, to be able to work on something for him for 7 years and not see like tangible major results, like that's just bonkers
Yeah,
crazy. Now he's a billionaire, like.
yeah. Consistency is a big thing too, and with being the age we are, we have a lot of opportunities to go out and party and stuff like that, and kind of trying to find there's not really a balance in our industry. I mean, it's a different day every day, but finding a healthy balance between party, get your work done, family, travel, etc. And that's kind of the goal, is finding that balance.
To dig a little bit deeper on that, like I mentioned earlier that I have a little working on my subconscious, working on my mindset. These are things that I do, reading books. You have a routine in the morning that I do to really kind of focus in on what I'm trying to be able to do. Do you guys have any routines that you do, whether it's working out or eating or planning? Like, what are some of the things that you guys do as a routine?
So I think for the both of us with this new store, coming from the old store to the new store, I'll start off with this, it's a totally different thing. Back there, we could close whenever we wanted. We could, here, you got to be open on time, every time. So right now we're kind of in the switch of finding that. I think a routine is super important with exactly what you're saying. And so right now, I think, we still haven't had our grand opening yet. I'm trying to find our routine, but for me, and I'm sure he has his own, which we can talk about in a second. Like for me, I try and wake up at a healthy time. For me, I think 8 hours of sleep is a perfect amount. I think for me, it's different for everybody. For me, I'm just less. If I get any less than that, you say, oh, you can stay up working a little bit later. For me, it's just productivity goes down if I'm running on less sleep. So I'll try and wake up, 7:30, knowing I have to leave my house around 11:30 to get to the store, and try and knock out a lot of the online stuff that we do, or open packages, or pay some bills, or check my email, respond to some people. So I try and get a lot of my work done before, like try and do work before work, so that after work, it's important that you do have some free time. You're going to drive yourself crazy. And I think for me, I like to get everything done in the morning, so that when I'm closing the store, it's time to go home, spend some time with the family, have a nice dinner, and just kind of relax a little bit.
Yeah, waking up at a healthy time is a big one. We got a couple of buddies who can't figure out a sleeping schedule, and it's a bad thing. But yeah, waking up early, uh getting a good amount of water in, just kind of wake up the system, and eating healthy is a big thing too. I think both of us eat fairly healthy, and every once in a while we'll have some candy. I mean, Alex has got a pretty big sweet tooth. So I mean, nothing's stopping us
You got
there,
any
but
candy hidden somewhere that we can't see?
everyone,
It's all gone.
yeah, it's a day. It takes a day for us to take down a couple bags of candy. But yeah, just eating healthy, getting out of bed in the morning, right when you wake up, just get moving, and working out. I've actually been out from shoulder surgery for about a month and a half. I haven't been able to really push myself in the gym, but just getting in there and walking, doing lightweight stuff, it helps take my mind off a lot of crap going on at work or in personal life and stuff like that.
Totally. From a standpoint of the business and growing, right? You guys have big goals. You have the grand opening, but kind of going backwards in time. What was the biggest struggle that you've had to overcome all along this journey?
I think capital is a huge, kind of goes back to what I was talking about earlier. The expenses that people don't realize of opening a business and starting a business is huge, right? It almost got to the point, and we've done all of this with no loans, no financing, nothing. This is all owned. None of it's lended. So we had to come up with a lot of money that we didn't expect, sell off some inventory to just so that we could have a legal business, so that we could have a sign above our store. And so I think that having capital was a huge issue that we had, because there's always more shoes you can get here, right? There's every size to each model, and capital is a big one. We never struggled with like our relationship or anything. We've always been good about that. And that's the number one thing that'll take you down. It happens all the time. And especially, as you start to see success, the more money, the more greed comes around. And we're both, it's important to be open with each other. And it's kind of what we've done.
Yeah, financial stress is a big thing that kids our age don't really understand, because they're not spending money or anything like that at the extent that we are. And that stuff, if you're not right in the head and you don't go to the gym and you don't drink a lot of sparkling water, then you're not gonna be able to keep going. And that stuff brings you down at the front end, because you're like, oh, I'm not making money right away. And sometimes making $5-10 on a cheaper shoe is not bad, because you're continuing to move your product and stuff like that. But the big thing at the beginning is don't get worried about money. It's just build your name and create relationships, because with relationships the money will come.
Yeah, that's such an important thing, because in this business, right, there's some, it looks like some flexibility in terms of how you guys get product in, also and also sell product. You can kind of be flexible on prices, right? And so relationships matter, getting people to be happy and satisfied with the product and coming back. So can you dig a little bit, explain more about the relationships you have, like who's coming back, or why are people coming back?
A lot of people are coming back because we provide a luxury feel when you come into the store. Not many stores like this they don't provide that luxury vibe. It's more of the streetwear kind of laid back vibe. And I think with our brand name being Opulence, it's luxury and wealth. So we need to provide that to the customers when they walk in and out. But working with customers, being negotiable on pricing and whether they're selling stuff to us, we like to help each other out. And that's what keeps bringing them back.
Yeah, I think another huge thing is too, which he's better than me at, how we compliment each other. It's one of the things is putting a face to the name, and if you don't remember their name, just giving them a simple thing that you recognize them, right? Like welcome back instead of, hey, welcome in. It's a huge thing that I'll do a little bit, but he's better. I'm terrible with names and recognizing people. And that we have some people that at our other location, super slow, super dead. We didn't have that many customers, and we're having people now that we're in a bigger store, super, kind of our names really getting out there. That are like, oh, don't forget us. Don't, like, they say that, but it's true. Remember them. Who spent money with you, who was selling you shoes when nobody else was coming in, and so being able to remember them, I think that's what makes them come back and develop a relationship. We actually had some customers yesterday that invited us to come play indoor soccer with them. Just they're like, oh, do you guys play soccer? And we're like, yeah, like getting to know them, because that's what keeps coming them back. Have a relationship with them, have something to talk about when they come in, versus, I'll see some other stores just in general, shoe store or not, sometimes they can't even look at you in the eyes and say hello when you walk in the door, or thank you, or something back.
Complimenting them is a big thing as well. It definitely hangs with them for a little bit, and that gets back in the store.
Like as we were setting up here, you guys had some regulars come in, Scotty and Richard, and they're going out of town for a tournament, and you guys were able to take care of them. As we were setting
they're
up.
Good people, and that's exactly what we're doing. I mean, he was in 3 times this week, I think, and he comes in and we haven't even opened yet. So he's been in here 3 times. So yeah, people like that stick around, and we have a couple of them that are around pretty frequently, but they're good guys.
And it goes to show you too, like, we're getting this podcast set up, we're already running a little behind for when we're supposed to open. We could easily just kind of blown them off. We're like, hey, we'll get, you've been texting us this week, we'll make sure to get you in before you leave for out of town, right? Because that's what gets them to come back. When they see you go out of your way for them, knowing that, we'll have plenty of other customers today, which we will, and not forget to just like, oh, they can come back next week if they still want it, whatever. I know I can sell a shoe to someone else, but knowing I'll get him to come back, and just genuinely, we like the people too. We like our customers. We like to connect with them, know what's going on, because that also helps us. The more you can ask them about, oh, okay, like how does that shoe, you have a wider foot, what shoes, I don't have a wide foot, he doesn't, how does that shoe, what are your favorites? You have a bigger foot, some big feet people don't like to wear certain models, kind of identifying patterns if you get close with them and they don't know you're asking them because of that reason, but it just helps you with your business and with your connection with the customers.
From a standpoint of, you know, doing the work, running a business, the more successful you are, opportunities open up, right? I think you guys said before, making your own luck. But is there a scenario of a door that opened that you just never even like crossed your mind that was even going to be an opportunity just by continuing to put the work in?
Well, I think with the platform that we have a little bit of leeway as far as reaching out to people and getting in contact with bigger names. And I'm pretty excited about the fact that we got about 6 or 7 guys from the city team out here, and that was a big deal. Everybody loved that, and just that kind of door opening for us is big, and it wouldn't have happened at the other location. Um, and another thing is, like Alex said, we didn't have much traffic at Chesterfield Mall. So now rolling into here, and we're still kind of in that soft opening phase. We haven't even advertised that we're open. We're getting so many people in here. It's more active, it's more fun. You're learning a lot more. You're meeting new people, and I mean that kind of door is only opening because of our platform and the work that we put in on the back end.
I'll give you another good example too. I don't know if it's necessarily a door, but it's just something to kind of think about. So we had the mall actually reached out to us and called us because they wanted a sneaker store just like this in the mall, and we were actually looking at a space down the way that was more suitable for our needs. What I mean by that is, a clothing store, they don't need a lot of storage, right? Because everything is out. They don't need a lot of stuff in the back, but for each one of these shoes, there's a box, right? And the other store had way bigger storage rooms set up to perfectly hold shoe boxes. Just the layout it looked pretty good. It was pretty promising, and then we were kind of hesitant on it, and then it sold. What are we gonna do? We were ready to go, but we weren't a little hesitant, and it's just gone. And you think that's the spot to be. And as we can see now, it wasn't. This worked out so much better than the other one would have put into it. When you're starting a business, another big part is you don't want to spend a bunch of money on build out, right? We came in almost as move-in ready as you can get. Obviously, there's going to be some fixes, and you just got to make it work. Find something else. That's what we did here. And if that place wouldn't have sold down there, we would have had to dumped a bunch of money into building it out, which means less shoes, less inventory. And instead, we're here and we made it work. We did some fixing in the back to make sure the storage was okay, and that door closed, but an even better one open.
And another door that opened is another good example is you coming in here and talking yourself up and meeting and networking, and now we're on a freaking podcast together, and we can help each other out as far as our platforms.
100%. And like when you do the work, you put the work in, like something's going to happen, good, bad, and different. And how you look at the results is your choice, right? Like the best example that I give a lot is like the Olympic runner, right? That's getting ready for a race. They're going to have butterflies just like you and I, whatever we're going to do, that nervousness, that anxiety, like they've taken their mindset and they've trained their mind to think about that nervousness, that anxiety. And it's like, well, no, I'm just excited for this race. It's energy. And they're just reframing it to a positive end. And then the first day, okay, maybe it has an effect, maybe it doesn't, but like you do it every single day, all of a sudden the energy starts to get to a different level, and it becomes an energizer instead of a paralyzer. And it's like, those are the things that, like, if you understand that, like, things are going to happen, good, bad, and different, how you react to it is going to be the separator.
Yeah. And if when things happen or don't go your way, or they do go your way, or indifferent, like you mentioned, failure has been the biggest teacher for both of us. We've learned so much, and I think a lot of people they fail at something and then they stop. But what if they were one step away from making it big? And that's thing that's different about us, business, and a lot of it's our age.
Yeah. So to dig a little bit deeper on, there's people out there where you can say, hey, like, here's the roadmap. Here's the information you need to be able to do XYZ goal, that just don't do it, right? Like, you can tell somebody to do it. Either they're going to be doing it or not. Some places aren't ready to do it, right? For you guys, you know, what's the separate? Why are you guys different than the rest?
I think, you know, a lot of people will come up to us because they see what we've done, and you know, they're really happy for us, and they kind of want some advice. We're always happy to give. They're like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. Then every night they're out partying, they're out drinking, they're out. I'm like, so to me, you're telling me one thing, but I already know I'm gonna stop talking to you because you don't want to do it. I can see that you're not even trying. You haven't given it any effort. Oh, well, I did this, you know, I started an Instagram. I don't care what you started. Go stop drinking, go home, wake up at a good time, you know, go to the gym, get some exercise, take care of yourself. And for both of us, we figured that out. And it's always been kind of a thing where people think that it's gonna be a golden road, right? Someone's gonna tell you exactly. We could give you all of our best advice from everybody that we have here right now, a bunch of smart, intelligent, successful people. And it's still not going to give you, okay, I need to do this, 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 this. And you have to take some chances, right? High risk, high reward. Obviously, you want to take calculated risks, but that's what it comes down to, is there's not going to be a golden route for you to take. You're going to have to overcome some stuff and really see where it puts you. And sometimes it's not going to work. And sometimes it just takes one time for it to work and you're through.
And there's a phase when you're kind of fading away from hanging out, partying and stuff, where it's no fun. I mean, you got FOMO, you're not boozing up, it's not your usual Friday night. And a lot of people can't overcome that. They'll fold a couple weeks into their separation, or whatever you want to call it. And honestly, my shoulder surgery served as a big break for me, just kind of stepping away from the party scene and just kind of doing my own thing, figuring out what I want to do next. We're opening up a new place. How do I want to be personally when I'm opening up this new place? And that's important, but a lot of people can't beat that phase of FOMO, stuff like that.
So as much as we're talking about, you know, people that may want to do something, but they're just not ready to do it, they just don't put the work in. They're not consistent enough, right? They know what they need to do, but they just don't do it enough, right? On the flip side of that, you know, the people that do the work, that set a good example, right? You can only show somebody the way enough, but if you just keep doing it, keep sharing and talking about it, I kind of, you know, describe it as a gravitation of the more you do, the more you share, the more people around you see what you're doing. Your gravitational field becomes stronger. People are attracted to you. People want to see more about what you do. And you can't make somebody want to do it, but if they see it enough, maybe they can start to believe that it's possible, whatever they want to do. Have you guys seen anybody in your circle that has kind of followed in your footsteps in their own journey of, hey, maybe I can go make my dream reality and put the work in?
We've had a couple. It's just hard. It's just so rare for people our age to do. And a big part of it is just the FOMO thing's a huge thing for our age, right? We took the sacrifice of not going to a big college and partying, and sure, sometimes it sucks. You know, it's Saturday night after work. We're not going out. We're not seeing any girls. We're not doing any of that. You know, we're going home and probably typing on spreadsheets. And to know that it's like that until summertime when everybody comes back, it can be hard. And so we don't really see too many people around us get to a close circle, like, or follow in, you know, kind of the steps that we've taken. There's a couple here and there. I just think at our age, it's really, really hard to find. You know, there's some older people, but like, for example, the Chase guy I was talking about earlier, I think we're a perfect example of what, you know, it's almost a scenario of us following his footsteps and then taking our own route.
From a why standpoint, when you guys come in here every single day, what's your purpose? What's your why? Why are you guys working?
We want to get to a point where we can have this business operate by itself. We don't have to be here. Money's coming in, and we're able to take care of our kids, not only our kids, but our grandkids. And just being at a point where we can spend more time with the family and friends and not have to be in store and operate and work is a big goal for us.
So having control of your destiny kind of a thing to where it's on autopilot? Is that kind of what you're saying? Correct.
I think a big part of it is just financial freedom. It's the biggest thing. And, a lot of people say, oh, money can't buy you happiness. You don't need running shoes to run, do you? But it helps.
We always say, as soon as we're not worried about how much we're spending on fast food when we're out with our buddies and stuff, that's when we know financial.
As soon as I can drive by any restaurant and be like, hey, I want to eat there and not have to worry about what the bill looks like, that's when I've made it. That's
We cover everybody in the car.
yeah.
So speaking of fast food, should go to.
Take it.
Probably gonna go. I'm gonna hit you with breakfast. Chick-fil-A breakfast. If you haven't tried it,
It's heat.
a lot of people think, oh, chicken for breakfast, give it a try. Well, I'll let it speak for itself. And then other than that, I like fresh subs, always good, healthy. So Mr. Good Sense is probably a go-to. If I want a cooked one, I'll go Penn Station.
Yeah.
For a burger, I'm going Smash Burger.
Yeah, I'm going Culver's on a burger. I like Culver's a lot. I think the quality of their food's pretty good as far as fast
Cheese
food
fries.
goes.
Yeah, I love it. So growing up, right, this entrepreneurial spirit, you mentioned financial freedom. Was that something that you guys were exposed to along the way? Read books? Like, where did you guys get that spark?
Internet. Seeing, and a lot of what I've learned now is, a lot of it's just behind the camera. They're not really living that, but there actually are some people that do. And we've seen that it's possible to get there. If, you gotta kind of do some calculations to where, okay, if I'm bringing in this much a day, this much a week, this much a year, I can do this. And so I think we've seen, really like all these people traveling and meeting all these cool people, right? If you surround yourself with the right people and do the right thing, you get a really good chance of getting there.
Yeah, they always say you're an average of the 5 people you hang out with. You're an average of the 5 people you surround yourself with. And we like to surround ourselves with pretty good people.
So at 19, most people are thinking about their school or their, person they're going after in terms of relationships or whatever, or friends or parties. And you guys are thinking about surrounding yourselves with people that are looking to build wealth, looking to build businesses. That's obviously.
Yeah, more so than the ladies for sure.
For you, Christian, you mentioned the internet. Where did that spark come from?
Internet as well. I think TikTok's a huge one. It kind of, whether they're really doing it or not, or they're just putting on they're posing, as we call it. It helps. It kind of gives you a kick in the ass, bite in the butt, and get you going. But another thing, as far as mentally keeping yourself straight, is I like books. So a big book for me is It Takes What It Takes. I learned a lot as far as just kind of leaving your emotions out of the decisions you make business wise and relationship wise. And it's hard. I mean, some things will beat you down, but it's definitely something that's in the back of my head and keeps me rolling.
Can you share an example of a situation where emotions could maybe be an important part, but then getting your mental side to be able to get down?
Sure. So business wise, somebody comes into the store and they're looking to sell me a pair of shoes. Or looking to sell us a pair of shoes, and they're like, "Well, I need $100 because I got to make it home and I need to get gas." At that point, I understand their need for the extra money, but it's business is business, and I can't always go that high on a pair of shoes. So I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to be here. This is what I can do. I'm running my own thing. We got to keep the lights on in this place." So that's a thing where I have a heart and I feel that, but business is business. Relationship wise, you run into a relationship with a gal that's not really suited for you, and you gotta just really take a step back. And at a younger age, it's harder to kind of balance that emotion and not emotion. What's the opposite of that? Not emotion. Anyway,
a cold dead heart.
Yeah. It's hard to balance your emotion and what's really going to suit you. So you just keep moving, and you see that a lot with younger relationships. But
so I'm gonna go in a different direction here. So if there's a person out there that's attractive to you, but then also has an entrepreneurial spirit, maybe building a business out there like that, is that something that would be attractive for you guys?
Oh yeah, that's what you need. You need a gal who's gonna be by your side and help you build some capital and become financially free.
Somebody who gets it.
Yeah.
I think it's important too to make sure you have your space, right? Like when I'm doing work, there's not, I get to, if I'm married to her, I'm going to sleep with her every night. I'm going to see her at every meal, and it's like when I'm at work, I want to be at work. I want to be doing my thing. I think a good amount of distance, right? I wouldn't be opposed to running a business together, but it's almost one of the things where I think like for me, I get really dialed in and kind of on my own path. That's what I like to do.
And yeah, that it is an iffy topic because with business comes decisions and emotions and stuff like we were talking about. And that could eventually become a problem with your marriage or your relationship. But definitely having a gal who understands what you're doing and you kind of understand what she's doing, and you guys can help each other on the back end, whether you're running it together or not.
Yeah.
But somebody to go home to and can cheer you up and keep you motivated for sure.
So speaking of that, right? Like I'm in the mortgage business and I've been in it since 2006. So I've seen lots of changes in the markets and ups and downs and all the roller coasters and dealing with chaos and cheering yourself up, right? We have to have a process to be able to get ourselves into the right frame of mind to be able to attack the day, deal with all the chaos, ups and downs, the struggles, and making sure that we're taking care of our clients. What are some of the things, running a business like this? You guys are out on an island. You don't have many people that are your age doing this. What's that like from a mental standpoint of trying to be able to make sure you're on point, staying on track?
I think it kind of goes with having, like you talked about earlier, having a routine of what you do. We have a set list of things that we do every morning. We have a set time, that we need to get here, set time the door opens, set thing, bullet point list of what we have to do before we get open and what we have to do when the doors close. And I think having that really keeps you, because it keeps you from worrying because you know what you have to do. You're not questioning, oh, did I do this? Did I do that? You did because you have a set list. You go through it every single time and it's the same thing every single time, so that keeps the stress of, oh, did I set the alarm? Did I lock the door? You did. And I think that's important too when you get home, like I talked about earlier. When I get home, I kind of like to relax, kind of keeps the stress away from that. So I think making sure you're ready to attack the day is have what you're going to do written down somewhere, know what you're going to do. Think of it in advance, whether, you have the whole plan out or just the rest of your day, set a plan and know what you're going to do.
And on the back end, definitely get a good amount of sleep, like we talked about, and eat healthy and stay hydrated. That really helps as well.
I love it. You mentioned having a plan, maybe be writing stuff out, and it's easy to do, but it's also easy not to do. And that's why many people don't do it. And it's like when you write things out like that, and if you look at it consistently, you build a routine on it, like you're basically training your subconscious brain to go make that become a reality. And it's just like when you drive home from work, you've had a long day and maybe you got phone calls to return and maybe you stop by, Chick-fil-A drive-through at night or whatever. And like next thing you know, you arrive home safely without consciously ever thinking about the directions and then turns and whatever. And that's your muscle memory, your subconscious mind taking over. And when you start to realize that you can harness that power and put your goals out there and use your subconscious to be able to reach your goals, like it's all about increasing the odds at that point. And that's when things get pretty crazy. And you guys are obviously doing that just innately, right? Maybe not even consciously thinking about it.
We help keep each other accountable too.
That's huge. Kind of going back to marketing, right? From a social media standpoint, Instagram, for example, what are some of the things that have been helpful for you guys to be able to, either strategies or ideas that have helped you guys really take things to the next level?
I think an inviting message, an inviting caption, really good looking photo, really good looking video. We have a videographer. I'm not real keen on videographer or videoing. So he does that for us, and he came up with a great film for the city team that we had out. But as far as photography, I'd taken great photos, something colorful, inviting, seasonal is a big one, but also having that caption that's inviting, but also keeping a consistent word that you say all the time. Like we always say cheers at the end of our post because people know, oh, that's Opulence, whether they look at our profile or not, because we say cheers. Just having a consistency in your text, in your photos is huge.
That's awesome. So when you look at the plan, the growth plan for 1 year, 5 years down the road, what are some of the things that you're looking to be able to accomplish, or what do you see this becoming in time?
So kind of short term goals would be just more inventory, plain and simple, maybe another employee. The long term goals, we've thought about, other locations that honestly that stuff it kind of pops up, right? Because you don't know what doors are going to open, right? We don't know what mall is going to call us out of nowhere. We're open to it, but that's not the road we're going to focus. We're going to focus on what we have right here in front of us every day, which is the store we're at now. We're not going to be worried about, oh, should we move here, right? Focus on what you have right now and how can you make this place better? Not, oh, I'm going to move over here. And then really the long term goal is to have this place running on its own, right? We have people we trust running the store. We don't have to be here a single second because we've taught them to do our jobs every day. And so that's the long-term goal. And then, potentially sell the company. With selling a buy, sell, trade company, it's hard to sell because it's hard to teach someone. You can't give someone your solutions, right? You can't do that. So you kind of have to get it even more to run on its own, whether that's making it a consignment store almost, or, kind of sometimes you just have to lay it as basic to them as you can of how to get the inventory, how to do this. And one of these kinds of businesses, you're going to maximize your profit when selling the whole company is if you can sell the brand. We could liquidate this whole company overnight with just the inventory. All this stuff has a value that I could sell to one person today if I wanted to, but you're going to squeeze the money out if you can sell the brand. Opulence, they've built a reputation. The dude who's going to buy it, it runs on its own. The people who work there are great. If we can keep them around.
And again, with that being said, as far as keeping the brand alive, it's going to be luxury and it's going to feel wealthy, and that's what we want maybe the future buyer to understand when they come in, and as well as the customers on a day-to-day basis.
So you mentioned connections, right? Like who is the person out there that you guys would love to be able to meet?
Obviously, Michael Jordan's a huge one on the list because 3/4 of our products is. But there's even, I'd like to talk to some of the guys that do. I think it would be cool to meet some of the owners of the giant retail stores like Flight Club Stadium, because these kinds of stores, the highest level in New York, LA. Then I also think it would be cool to talk to the creators of the online, who's in charge of the sneakers on eBay, or the creator of GOAT, on the back end side of things. So I think for me, that's kind of who I would be thinking of.
There's a couple of clothing brands that I really like. I have some of their product, and I like the way they do their thing. I like the way they market. I like the quality and stuff. And I'd like to talk to a couple of the owners of those guys. But then again, controversial. I'd really like to meet Andrew Tate and get in front of him and see what he's all about behind the camera, or with the camera off. And I think another one for us.
Is he ever going to get out of jail?
I doubt it. There's no way the government does that. There's no way the government lets him out, because he's just gonna keep doing what he's doing, and he's not gonna. No amount of money is ever gonna be enough for him for them to pay him off. But I doubt they let him out. That'd be a huge deal. Yeah. But I'd like to meet him, and I think for both of us, Elon Musk, he's a pretty solid guy. I think it'd be cool to get in front of him.
That guy just decides he's gonna do something, just does it, right?
He's wild.
He can make a tweet about cryptocurrency and then it goes up. He can control them. Having that as one single person having the power to do something like that is unbelievable.
So back to the business here. You can hear. Back to the business. Okay, so we have the grand opening tomorrow, right?
Yep.
And we've got some pretty badass shoes. So we mentioned a Jordan. What do we got here? What do we got?
So you're looking at the Grateful Dead, the yellow pair, and then the Kobe's. Kobe's are huge because he passed, RIP, and they shot up in value because they're no longer making them because he's gone. But let's talk about the Grateful Deads.
Grateful Dead, I really truly don't know too much about Grateful Dead, as some fanatics do, but
It's just a really hype collab, and it's right now it's in a plastic wrap, so it's not showing as much, but they're super fuzzy when it's not all shrink wrapped
Uh-huh.
together. And they have a yellow,
Green,
green,
orange.
and orange pair for sale. And so we have the yellow and green in here right now, and it's about $1,000 shoe on the yellow and about 1,500 on the green, just behind the counter. But
And I'm sorry, this one is 1,500.
Kobe, this
the Kobe
Kobe
one,
is 700. So that's the Grinch, as you can see in
Okay.
the colorway.
So speaking of the Grinch, we have 3.5-year-old twin boys, and the screen time is a big issue because when we take it away, they just go ape shit. So the Grinch stole YouTube, so now we can't watch YouTube. So that's what our house is all about. The Grinch took this. When is the Grinch gonna bring us back our stuff? Maybe we'll get the Grinch with our Spidey webs. But
That's all.
Yeah, we actually tell customers are always asking about the Grinch. It's a pretty hot shoe. And we always tell them if they come in dressed as the Grinch in a costume, we can give them $100 off. So that goes for you guys listening. It's a size 9.5. They're at 700, but if you get dressed like the Grinch, we can give them to you for 6.
Yep.
So what about tomorrow? What time are you guys opening tomorrow?
11 o'clock tomorrow is the opening. Normally on Saturdays, it's 12 o'clock, but we're going to do 11 o'clock just to make sure we can. There's going to be a line. There's going to be a big line. And so we want to make sure we can get everybody in. The last line we had, we saw people leaving the back of the line, and we obviously don't want that to happen. Now, here, it's a different story if people are leaving the back of the line because they're probably just going to shop at other places. We'll circle back around, hoping the line's not as long. But, the earlier we open, the less waiting people have to do. And I think it's important that we want everyone to get in here and get the chance to see the new store on its big day. And so we'll probably get here, a couple hours beforehand, make sure everything's set up how we want it. And tonight we're going to stay after, and do a lot of the cleaning just because nobody wants to wake up and start cleaning. So
Yeah, my dad was the guy at the door at our last Black Friday sale, and he was letting people in, like 15 people in, one out. Then eventually we blinked our eyes and it was shoulder to shoulder in the store because people were leaving the line. He just figured he'd let them all roll in, but it'll be a little bit different story.
Yeah, it was a good, like we talked about earlier, being in a slower, really dead mall was a great learning experience. Now we know how to deal with a line and people wanting to get in, some people getting pissed off, and when it gets crowded and hectic, everybody's running around trying to find a box. People are trying to try on while there's 20 other people in here, kind of how to manage that. I think we underprepared last time. We even brought like 4 additional employees on just for that day. And now we're going to need like 8 this time in the new mall. So
yeah, our parents are big helps when it comes to big days like this.
That's awesome. So my apologies for not doing this sooner. Can you give the listeners a little bit of background on where they can find you? Can you give the handles again?
Yeah, your best bet is going to be through Instagram. Our Instagram is Opulence _STL. We're pretty much active 24/7. If you need anything or you're looking for a future release or you're trying to figure out your sizing and stuff, just shoot us a question on Instagram. We're pretty responsive. And or at this STL Premium Outlet, St. Louis Premium Outlet, you guys can come on in here. We're located in the back left corner for all you guys who are in St. Louis or are stopping through.
Cool. So they can DM you on Instagram?
Yeah, that's going to be your best bet.
DM us. Our phone numbers on our page as well. You can give us a call
Or text.
DMs, guaranteed you're going to get a message back.
Okay. So last thing, let you guys get back to selling some shoes today. For the person that's out there that is doubting themselves or doesn't think they can do their big dream, what advice, what that entrepreneurial advice that you give to that person to carry with them every single day?
I would say consistency is going to be the biggest thing. Just stay consistent, start small. Don't compare yourself to somebody else who's in the industry. Just kind of it's you versus you, brother.
Cool.
And I would say find someone that you can actually connect with that motivates you. Don't try, and you're not going to be able to talk to Andrew Tate, right? That's just not going to happen, right? Find a local mentor.
Right? Nobody's talking.
So find someone around you that has a successful business that you can talk to, because I promise you they will give you so many things that you never even thought about. Whether you think it's good advice or not, at least hear it and maybe try it, even if you don't think it's going to work, because you get a lot of times, there's scenarios where there's nothing to lose, right? Make an Instagram post and only 100 people like it versus 200. Well, it's all right. Nothing happened. You tried it, didn't work. And so try something else.
I think another thing is a lot of people get caught up in the past and the future, but none of them they're both non-existent. So you just got to kind of focus on yourself that day and keep rolling and do what you got to do. Everybody knows what they got to do at some point. So just get it done and quit getting those emotions in your way. And it is hard. It's easier said than done, but just something to consider.
I love it. Well, thank you guys so much for making time. I know you guys have a busy schedule. It was a lot of fun. And
yeah, thanks for having us on.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate it, Joel.
thanks for letting me barge in your store a couple days ago.
Yeah, of course. We'll definitely be in contact and
Cool.
talk business again and whatever else comes up. So
yep. So when you guys meet Jordan, I'll be your videographer.
Yeah,
I can help you guys with the videography. But,
bring the setup and
bring the setup.
Get them on the mics. So.
Boom.
Yeah, we got a couple ideas in the future, and I'm glad we met you guys.
Cool. All right. Good job.
Thank you.